The McLaren 650S shouldn't be able to beat Tesla, right? With a 0-100 km/h acceleration of 3 seconds, it's a whole second slower than an electric car. Frankie feels embarrassed even driving it. He's eyeing the limited edition Lamborghini Huracan EV parked next to the McLaren. Only by driving this kind of car can one dominate everything. However, the boss lady, Mosey, insists it's not for sale. Frankie argues that he's so broke that he only has money left to try out the car.
That car is owned by someone else. The McLaren is a serious car. You should drive it. You'd like it. Trust me.
Frankie's younger brother, Eddie, quickly signals him to step aside and talk. Their purpose in coming today is to steal this Lamborghini. Being too obvious might raise suspicion, so Eddie advises Frankie to go along with Mosey's wishes.
Fuck it, we go with the orange. I love orange.
Frankie asks his wife to test drive. With a press on the accelerator, the McLaren roars like a beast on the track. The woman intentionally makes a lot of noise, enjoying the drive however she pleases.
Any scratches or dents, you pay.
You underestimate my life.
While Mosey's attention is diverted, Eddie quietly slips away and enters Mosey's office. He just needs to find the key to the Lamborghini, put it on the device, and it'll be copied in 30 seconds. However, upon opening the drawer, he finds a heap of luxury car keys. He randomly picks one and luckily, the noise outside covers the unlocking sound. As he reaches for another key, Mosey's henchman looks back upon hearing a noise. Eddie sweats nervously, but the henchman sees nothing unusual and turns away. Eddie finally picks the right key this time and swiftly activates the program to start copying. Meanwhile, the woman continues to drift wildly, causing Mosey's heart to race. Suddenly, he notices Eddie's absence and quickly rushes back to the warehouse to find him. Eddie spots a small bag in the drawer and curiously opens it, causing its contents to spill out. Upon closer inspection, he discovers it's a human thumb. Just then, Mosey approaches. Eddie pretends to be waiting for him to sign a contract. Mosey complains about Frankie's wife's reckless driving and the unresolved price. Eddie takes the opportunity to slip out, suggesting they talk outside. If any issues arise, they can easily find an excuse to leave.
The car is good. I just don't like the color.
After their departure, Mosey is left fuming with anger. At the same time, Eddie's butler, Jeffrey, discovers a naked man on the estate grounds. To their surprise, he turns out to be Susie's employee, Jimmy. Jeffrey brings Jimmy home, where he explains that a few days ago, he was transporting a shipment worth $13.75 million when he was approached by a charming woman at a service area. As a single man in his 50s, Jimmy was flattered by the attention and even thought he had found love. However, he woke up later to find both the car and the keys missing. He hitchhiked back, only to realize he had been drugged and abandoned in the wilderness. His mistake has now caused Susie to miss the delivery deadline, and Blair, aware that the new shipment will take some time, demands that Susie help him steal Mosey's Lamborghini. Unable to act themselves due to police-installed GPS trackers, they orchestrate the events that unfold. Andy arrives at Mosey's factory with the copied key, instructing Frankie to head back while he prepares to sneak in and steal the car. Suddenly, he's startled by a greeting from nearby and, following the voice, finds a man locked inside a small hut, the owner of the severed thumb. Taking pity, Andy brings the man along in the car. Leaving Mosey bewildered as they drive off. However, Frankie, still lingering out of curiosity, is spotted by Mosey's henchman. Hastily, he starts the car and speeds away. Despite not facing traffic like a Mazda, the Mercedes proves unreliable at crucial moments. While Andy drifting stylishly in the Aventador, Frankie is caught by Mosey. Andy must now figure out how to rescue Frankie. The thumbless man reveals a dreadful truth to Andy, urging him to check the trunk of the Aventador. Inside, they find 150 kilograms of drug, indicating Susie has been deceived by Blair. this isn't just about stealing cars. The thumbless man was sent by Blair to steal the flower, but met an untimely demise. Back at Mosey's behest, Andy is tasked with returning both the car and the flower, as his brother's life hangs in the balance. Reluctantly complying, Andy realizes mere restitution won't soothe Mosey's anger. Unwilling to let the matter rest, he brings Blair to Mosey as a gesture of goodwill, proving that their theft was orchestrated by Blair. Mosey has long wanted to deal with Blair. Delighted, her mood buoyed by a bout of violence. Eddie goes through all this trouble for his unreliable brother, accomplishing nothing in the end. Jimmy's situation is even more infuriating. He was deceived by a woman, yet remains oblivious, continuing to stay in touch with her.
He's either Rudolph Valentino or a few fries short of a Happy Meal. Shall we light this up?
I've never seen such a peculiar old man. Just because the tour guide brought people to visit his modest 30,000 square meter villa, he started waving a gun at them, ordering them to leave.
I have no lizards in my house. You hear me? No fucking lizards!
Unfortunately, he exerted too much force and met an untimely demise on the spot at the age of 80. After his death, in order to continue guarding his villa, he had requested craftsmen to follow his instructions, to install a window on his coffin and bury it in the ground, facing towards his house. Eddie attended the old man's funeral. The old man's son, Max, was a classmate of Eddie's brother, Frankie. Eddie used this connection to get close to Max because he wanted to broker a business deal. Their estate had an additional 60,000 square meters leased to Susie for marijuana production. Eddie aimed to drive them away and sever all ties, adhering to his principle of better to deceive the world than let the world deceive me. Max was his ideal successor. After understanding Eddie's intentions, Max played a recorded message for him. In the recording, a man claimed to possess highly confidential information involving a shady artifact acquisition deal related to Max's family. If exposed, it would cause a scandal and serious damage to Max. The man demanded a hush payment of $4.58 million and promised to hand over the information upon receipt. Max explained to Eddie that it was something his father had arranged before his death. Max was about to head to Hollywood for a big film shoot, making it inconvenient for him to handle directly. If Eddie could identify the blackmailer and retrieve the information, Max assured him that even if his estate turned into a den of iniquity, he wouldn't mind, as long as Eddie returned the file without opening it. He hoped his father's secret would remain buried forever. Eddie readily agreed and brought along the $4.58 million in cash to the designated location of the blackmailer. Upon meeting, he discovered it was a bald, middle-aged man named Frank. Frank claimed the information wasn't on him and suggested they go together to retrieve it. However, instead of taking Eddie to get the information, Frank brought him to a Chinese restaurant and ordered some peculiar dishes.
2 53s and a 69.
Eddie asked what these numbers meant, to which Frank explained that the first 3 digits corresponded to 3 different dishes, while number 69 wasn't a dish, but a person. Just as he finished explaining, the person in question approached them, attacked Frank. It turned out Frank owed money to number 69 and intended to use Eddie's money to pay off his debt. Eddie couldn't fathom why he should be dragged into Frank's problems, leading to an unexpected fight between 2 unrelated individuals. Amidst the chaos, Susie called to understand the situation and learned about the mess. She instructed Eddie to give the phone to number 69. After a conversation, Eddie discovered that number 69 was acquainted with his father, Bobby. Number 69 promised to provide Eddie with the address of the person who held the real scandalous information about Max's father if Frank repaid his debt. Susie agreed, but on the condition that number 69 provided the address first. They found Sis, a former top-notch journalist who held many secrets of high-ranking officials. Eddie easily retrieved the information from him and handed it to Max. Max promptly burned the documents upon receiving them. Frank successfully got his money, but before leaving, he couldn't help but criticize Max, stating that even if the information was destroyed, it wouldn't change Max's nature.
Whatever his father was doing, it's over now.
You're talking about his father for? I wasn't blackmailing his father. I was blackmailing Batman cunt.
Eddie was shocked to learn that Max was actually the one involved in the scandal. Thinking himself clever, Eddie had tried to trap Max but ended up being outsmarted. He pressured Max to reveal the specifics of his wrongdoing. Max slowly opened a hidden door behind the bookshelf, revealing a sealed jar containing an unknown piece of meat, obviously not pickled in alcohol. Max explained that it was Hitler's testicle. Everyone was astonished. 5 years ago, Max had acquired the piece of meat at great cost, intending to use it as a gimmick, claiming to be the sole surviving artifact of the Third Reich's leader. He had even bought all of Hitler's paintings, despite their poor quality. However, Frank attempted to secretly film the scene and was caught by Max's assistant, leading to a tense standoff. In the ensuing scuffle, Frank knocked Max unconscious with a bottle. The source of Max's publicity was devoured by his own dog, a blunt and brutal irony the director used to criticize the fate of those who seek to exploit such sensationalism. With the farce concluded, Susie instructed her men to discuss the details of the land lease contract with Max.